Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started now. Today, we are going to be finalizing, presenting, and creating the PDF and the ASCII, attaching those files to the job, and moving the job to history. So what we're going to do is we're going to begin on the transcriptionist main menu, which is what you're seeing. And I would simply go in to edit. You do not have to load the speech engine when you are importing just the cover pages. And I'll click on OK. And you can see that this was a RealTime Coach dictation. Okay, so what you're seeing is just text right now. This is something we used in last week's class. And if I simply click on Job and Finalize, it'll normally bring in the cover pages. But for the RealTime Coach dictations, there are no cover pages. And so what I want to show you is I'm going to exit out. This will bring me back to the main menu. And if I double click on the job, it's going to bring up the job information screen. And this is where you selected your style. And we use the dictation, the RealTime Coach dictation style, so that RealTime Coach wouldn't kick us out because of our markers. But I don't want to really use that. That's not the cover pages I want to bring in. So I'm going to click on the drop-down arrow in the style. And I'm going to go ahead and look for one of the Trinidadian styles that I created for the last class. They all start with TNT, and there are many, many, many of them. So I'm going to just go with the first one, the TNT Civil Matter High Court. And when I click on that, all of these replacement fields appear right here. Now, these replacement fields are what changes from one transcript to another. And so you have to fill in this information for the job. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a job that Diane just sent me today. That way I can use it for my replacement fields. Okay, let me bring this over to that side of the screen, or if I can. And make it a little bit smaller so that I can see both at the same time. Bring this over here a little bit. Okay, so the court is the high court. So just do high, and you want to type it in the replacement fields in the same way that you see it on the information that you're given. So bring this up a little bit. The division. I might not be using the right style for this job because there is no division here. Let me see if this wouldn't be a civil matter. I guess this would probably be a criminal matter. So I'll use that one instead of that one. Has a division as well. Well, we'll just skip that field since I don't see a division. Go to case number, which is CR space S-077/2011. And the state, yeah, that's what we're going to use. Versus MUKESHGANPAT. The name of the justice is type of proceeding. I guess I would call that criminal. Sexual offense. Address of the court, I guess would be that SF 12 San Fernando. And then the date would be Friday, 30th November 2018. And then if we scroll down a little bit, here we go. So the attorney for the state is going to be Mr. T. Jones. And for this gentleman, MSRAMIL. The speakers will probably be the court, and then the speaker for the state, so Mr. Jones. The speaker for the defense, Ms. RAMLL. Okay. Let's see if there are any other appearances. Does not look like it. So once this is completely filled in, like to the best of our ability, like we don't have multiple charges, the transcriber, you can put your name, and we don't know the total pages or any of that yet. So now we can click on apply and OK. And now we actually have information filled in, and we have a style that is appropriate for your work. So now I'm going to go back to edit. No need to load the speech engine because we're past dictation and correction. And now we'll go to job and finalize. And now it actually has cover pages listed in here. And if you want to see which cover page it is, you just go to the very end, and this is the name of the cover page. This is the name of the certificate page. So I'm just going to click on OK. And it's saying that these people were not found in the database. We didn't put in their addresses. That's okay. So as you can see, it used the covers that were assigned for this particular style. And it's got everything in there now that we need. And we're ready to go to the word processor. And to do that, we click on job and present. And what it's going to do is open up that very job in Microsoft Word. And you can see it down here. So I'm going to click on it one time. And there it is. And when you drop it into Microsoft Word, what happens is the layout has certain text already in it, like down here. And so in order to make sure that, you know, all is good and it's as it should be, if you need to, like, for instance, change the date, you would double click on this area and it'll open up the header for you. Now, it already put the date in it and everything, so you're good. But if you needed to change the date, that's how you would access the header of the document. And really, at this point, you're ready to go ahead and print it out. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to go to File, Print, and we're going to print it. But instead of going to a printer, we're going to select Microsoft Print to PDF. And then we're going to click on Print. That is a free PDFer that comes with Microsoft Word. And what it does is it'll come up and it'll say, okay, well, where do you want to put these files? So what I do is I go to C, local disk. That's the computer. And I have an ASCII file, and I just put my PDFs in the ASCII. And so I generally name it for the name of the case. So I would probably call this, based on the document that we had to look at, I would call it just the name of the defendant and maybe the case number. And then I would just hit save, and that would create a PDF of the document. Oh, it doesn't like this /. So I'll have to remove the /. There we go. And it happens really fast because this is a super small file. And so now I closed out of Word. We're back at the main menu. And now I'm going to go to File and generate ASCII file. And I can do that from the word processor or the scope document. I'm going to do it from the word processor. And we're not using fake line numbering, so we are going to just, I'm going to change the name to the defendant's name. And then I'll just do create. Okay, so this one's to use the scope file. That's okay as well. And then it says it's finished, so we can go and look at it here. Okay, I don't really like the way this came out, so I'm going to do another one. Okay, what's happening here is that because we've got more than 25 actual lines on the cover page, it's rolling over to the second page. And there are some things we can do to make that not happen. But like this whole area, this is the index page, and we haven't gone over indexes yet, so we're going to leave that page alone. But for the most part, I've got some weird stuff in there. Okay. So what I want to show you to do is, now that you've done, you've created a PDF and an ASCII, we can attach it to that file by still having the file highlighted and going to import and acquire files for job. And then I put them both in the ASCII files. So I'm going to double click on ASCII. And right over here in the lower right hand corner of the screen where it says sound files, I want you to click on the drop down there and select all files. That way you can see all of the files. And I want to select both the text file and hold down the shift key and click on the PDF file, and I'm going to click on open, and it says, okay, I've acquired those files. So those files are now attached to this job, and you can see that by going to view and show files. When you go to show files, you'll see that there's multiple sections of show files, and this is what tells you where all the files for this job are. So this is a very helpful tool in knowing where on the computer your files are saved. And so here we go. We don't have any, for some reason there are no dictations for this file and no sound files. And I don't see our attachments either. So maybe I clicked away from it. Okay, yeah, that's what happened. It's on my second screen, so bear with me for a minute while I move it. Okay, so I have a percent document. Okay, our required files are over here. And if we expand the field a little bit, we can see that one is a TXT And on other file, I can go, let's see, can I rename it? No, it doesn't look that I can. Okay. Because I would have liked to rename it to ASCII and PDF, but it's not letting me rename it. Okay, but you can see that there's a TXT file and a PDF file. So now everything that belongs with this job is in this job, and the job is completed. And so when the job is completed, we highlight it and we go up here to this icon that says, when you point to it, move to history. And when I click on it, it will come up and say, do you want to move the following jobs to history? These jobs will be closed out. And you click on yes, and it's gone. If you click on the history tab, there it is. So this is where you can store your completed jobs. Now, that's the whole process. What I want to do with you though now is I want to go to edit and click on edit styles. And I want to show you the styles that we have created for you, depending on where you work or will be working. The styles that you use may be very different. And so last semester I was given many samples that I could create styles from. And so all of the ones that start with TNT are actually files for you guys. And so what I would like to do is show you what goes on inside a style. And so I can get to a style by double clicking on it like I was just doing. Or I can just click once on it and click on the open button, which is the yellow folder. Now, when I get in here, there are all sorts of different options that we can set. These have all been set to do the work that you specifically do. If you go to speakers, speaker formatting, you'll see that the formatting of your speakers is a little different than what RealTime Coach likes to see, which is why we can't use these markers in RealTime Coach, because it will actually error out because of these markers, because RealTime Coach doesn't like tabs and markers or indents, which is why we created a very specific file for you to use when you are dictating. Because this configuration, which is the Trinidad configuration for criminal matter high court, is not liked by RealTime Coach. Speaker 2 settings are about when you go from direct examination to cross-examination. So some people like this with an indent. Some people like this to start exactly at the margin. Again, I just followed exactly what I was given. So these should be correct. If they're not, you can feel free to go in and change them. The Q&A format is right here. And that again uses tabs. So that messes up RealTime Coach as well. If we keep on scrolling to the right, we're going to come to replacement fields. The replacement fields are everything on the cover pages of that specific type of transcript that will change from one job to the next. And so you fill those in so that they can be dropped in the appropriate place in the appropriate include file. Now, if we go to layouts and includes, what you're going to see is here is where you decide what covers, certificates, layout, everything, what's used for this particular job. if you want to see what it looks like, you can just click on the open button and it'll open it in our editor. Sorry, that's on my other screen. I'm bringing it over now. So here's our editor, and it shows you that this is what the High Court Criminal Court cover looks like. And if you scroll down, you'll see that's where the index belongs. We'll be covering the index next week. Right now, I want you to focus on understanding that there is a purpose for these cover and certificate pages, for everything in them. Though they can be changed, please use caution. You know, normally businesses like all of their customers to use the same formats. So generally, depending on where you land or where you'll be working, what kind of jobs you'll do, that's probably the style that you're going to use most often. So if you have a need to change something, I would suggest that you Skype or email me and ask that either something be made or something be changed on one of the templates. It has been a few years since we did the templates, so it could have changed. So that's the cover page, including the index with the index replacement fields and the preceding, the testimony on the certificate. Okay, so once you're done making any changes, there's one other thing I want to tell you. If you want to include or insert a replacement field, the way you would do it is you would go to the place that you want that field and you would click on Insert, Case Fields, and then you would go to where the right one is and click on it, and then it brings it in. And you can then highlight it and say that you want it bolded, like I've done here and here and here, or unbolded, whichever you like. And then here's the index, which we'll cover next week, and that goes right into where the proceedings start. Okay, so the next tab is the Indexes tab. Indexes is where you simply tell, you're telling transcriptionists, look, this is where, these are the lists that I'm using. These are the lists I need. And so you list them there so that while you're creating the index in the edit screen, you can be adding to these 5 lists. And I'll show you how you do that in a minute. On attachments, that's normally only used for people using WordPerfect. Present is where we decide what word processor we want to dump into. In this case, we're going to go to Microsoft Word, so MS Word is selected. We don't normally do anything with additional formatting or video capture at this time. So when we're done making whatever changes we want or need to make, we click on Apply and OK. And we've edited that style. And it's just as easy to do with any style. You just go in and you say, okay, here's what I want, and make whatever changes you need, you know, on a regular basis. Any changes that need to be changed every time, we definitely need to think about that and make sure that we've got a replacement field for it and that it's a good replacement field and it's been placed into the template documents, which we call includes. So here we are with another version of a kind of transcript, sort of. This one allows for timestamps, as you can see, to the left of the name John Smith. You'll see 00:00 AM PM, meaning that will draw from the time that it took to start through the finish. So, okay, so this is your configuration. The only difference really, I think, is that we had to have a larger margin on the left to be able to include the numbering, the timestamps. So, as I said, you have many of these styles that you can look at and alter them if you need to alter them. But for the most part, I believe what the employer is looking for is consistency in its transcripts. So that's very important, and something that I would suggest that you keep in mind. And just make sure they're all right. Make sure you understand them, and make sure you have them all. I wanted to also show you the RealTime Coach style, just so that you will know what it looks like. So if we go to speaker formatting, you'll notice I just put it right against the start of the line. I didn't play with it at all. And the same is true for Q&A, because Dragon does not like it. So there you have it. I've gone ahead and made sure that all of the RealTime Coach has no tabs in the formatting, so that it shouldn't stop you anymore when you're trying to dictate. But because we want to work with cover pages and layout pages, you may very well want to just get in the habit of using the styles that changing the style from RealTime Coach to one of the TNT styles before you go in and play with Finalize and Present. Please do that, because if you just try to do Finalize with the RealTime Coach styles, nothing's going to happen, because there are no cover pages associated with that style. So in order to do that, I'm going to go back to my main menu. I'm going to go ahead and I was in the history list. It was confusing me, because if you'll notice, in each of these lists, the icons can change somewhat. And so I was looking to create a new job, and that, of course, doesn't exist in the history list. Okay, so when you're going to do a RealTime Coach dictation, remember to select the RealTime Coach style. But then when you're ready to do Finalize, come in and select a TNT style, so that you can fill in the appropriate information in the replacement field, so that you can practice doing that, because it's going to be a very important part of your job. So does anybody have any questions about using RealTime Coach to do your dictations, then switching the style so that you can bring in your cover pages and your certificate pages and move to Present? Are there any questions about that at all? Okay, if there's no questions on that, then what I'd like to do is talk about RealTime Coach for a minute. RealTime Coach seems to have a mind of its own, and I wasn't sure where those extra dictations. Okay, Diane, that's a very good question. Let me just answer it right now. Diane is asking about why there is a section break on the transcript. That's a really good question. And what I'll do is I'll go into Microsoft Word so that I can show you what happens. And by the way, when you go back into Present, and when you go into the Present the first time, it's going to ask you if you want to open the job with Media Controller. If you say okay and there's a check in that box, what it's going to do is it's going to give you the option to listen to the audio while you're in Microsoft Word. if you have audio. There's no audio associated with the job, so you can't play any. But up here, I draw your attention to the top of the Microsoft Word screen. There is an icon that looks like a paragraph mark. If you click on it one time, that is called Show Hide. And when you click on it, it shows your tabs, which are represented by arrows, your spaces, which are represented by these dots. And it will also show page breaks. See, there's a page break. There's another page break. And here's the transcript. Now, some of these are a little fancier than others. Some have headers and footers, some of these layouts, and some do not. The word section break or page break should appear on the transcript while you are in this mode. While you are in, it appears just as asterisk, asterisk, section break, or asterisk, 3 asterisks, section break, 3 asterisks. When you're in scope, you must never delete that, because when you go to Word, Word uses those section breaks and those page breaks to make sure that there are different behaviors in different sections. This particular job does not have section breaks. It only has page breaks. And that's because the behavior is the same throughout, meaning everything is line numbered. The first thing I see is that there's no page numbering on the document. That's something that we would definitely want to add, because I think page numbering is important. I generally will add, I'll go to insert, hit page number, bottom of page, or top of page, depending on what the preference of your court is. I'm going to go with bottom right. And then you see it puts the number in. I can close the header and footer. And now we have a page number on every page of our document, because this particularly is just a one section document. There are other documents that have section breaks, and the section breaks mean generally that there's a different header and a different footer on the document. That should bring us back to the main menu. Let's see if we go into edit. We don't even have to load the speech engine. We'll just go in. Okay, this one doesn't seem to have any audio, any text, so we'll go to one that does. Okay. This is a great time to tell you a little bit about what we call the conflicts feature. This is something that I use a lot. The wonderful thing about conflicts is there are some words that are kind of like word swaps. They sound alike, and sometimes Dragon can get it wrong, and when Dragon gets it wrong, it's another correction you have to make. So there are things that just for different people sound different or sound the same every time. So for me, one of my conflicts is as and has. So you can see just by reading the sentence, beyond a reasonable doubt, before there may be a conviction as to any particular count in the indictment. So what I hope you're noticing here is that the option that Dragon and transcriptionist thinks is correct is first, listed first in the parenthetical, and it's black, which means that that's what we think is the right one. Once you click on it, then the other options will just disappear. Yes, your text will turn red. That's not a problem. This is something we do generally after we do correction anyway. So it's not a problem that it goes red from any other color, but this is something that will help you tremendously. This is another example: or, are, her, our, sir. these are things that can come up incorrectly for me. So let's see. The fact to your ultimate verdict I previously told to the indictment does not constitute evidence in manner or to any extent, but merely permits the trial to be held. I think OR is probably the correct one. So, of an accused. So, he's less or until it is removed by evidence of guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. This term means what it would imply, not what it would imply, not a fanciful, whimsical, or capricious doubt, but a reasonable doubt, sometimes called unsubstantial doubt. It is a doubt arising out of the testimony or evidence in the case, or the lack of testimony and evidence in the case, which leaves the mind of a fair and impartial juror in wavering and unsettled condition after the picture. So you just keep going through and listening or reading and selecting the right one. That's how conflicts work. And to create a conflict, you just click on the options and then you go to the conflicts tab and you can see some of the ones that I've come up with here. The conflicts tab really, when I create conflicts, when I create word swaps, when I create brief forms, I do it from scope. And the reason I do it from scope is simple. In scope, that's when I am actually noticing where my problems are. And so that is the best time to go ahead and add conflicts or real-time rules or brief forms or word swaps to help you to very quickly navigate through a document that you've dictated. So the whole point is to make editing that document to complete the transcript quick and easy. And if these come up in an utterance, you can correct it in the utterance, meaning you can choose the right one. And I don't believe it'll turn red inside the utterance. So that's where you add conflicts. And that's how you create the cover pages is simply job, finalize, and say okay. And it's telling you that all these don't have speaker information. That's okay. And so now it's going to do its thing. You can see it's thinking. That's that little picture there. And then you can see here the information that I did not put in is actually information that I should have put in the job screen for this job. So if all else fails, simply remove. You can easily remove what you've added in. Just go to the very beginning and put your cursor there and then shift down arrow and delete, and then the word proceedings came in as well. And then Control M to move to the bottom of the page. Shift up arrow to delete everything that came in as a certificate behind the job. And you can always just go to job and finalize again. And as I said, the cover pages and the certificate pages are listed here. But if you don't feel they're the right ones, then you can click on Browse and you can go find the right one. So if it needed to be a different one, like, let's see, a criminal declaration page, open, and there you go. I've selected a different one. Now, since this is for juvenile, we'll want it to stay on juvenile. So hearing declaration, there we go. So now you've got the TNT juvenile hearing declaration page. And here you've got the transcription cover hearing. So you're good, and you can just click on OK, and it'll bring that stuff in again. So it's no problem. If it's wrong the first time, you can go and bring it in again. That's not a problem. And then here you'll notice there's a section break right here. Let's see if there's any section breaks at the top. It's unusual. There's normally, if there's one, there has to be more than one section break. Because if you don't have more than one section break, then you can't really create a section. So I'm going to go over here and highlight my section break. Do Control C and then Control Home to get to the top. And at the bottom of my first page and before the proceedings, I'll do Control V to put the section break there. And what that does is it will make the top one section. It'll basically turn the proceeding into its very own section, which is what we want, really. The other thing that I notice here is that we're using two different fonts. There's one font for the covers and one font for the proceedings. And so I'm going to just do Control A to select all. I'm going to go to Edit, Change Font. And I'll just select a font that I like. Nice, maybe Arial Rounded, 12, and OK. And there we go. Now it all looks the same. And now we're going to go to Save, and then we're going to go to Job and Present so we can dump it into the word processor. And I guess this must be a print set because what I'm getting is, let me show you. So here's what the document's looking like. It went straight to the print sets, which if we go to File, now let's edit styles. And let me move my share window here and scroll down to the TNT styles. And go to the juvenile court hearing style. And if I go to, okay, this should not be here. Just clear print set. That will allow me to go into Word. So now I want to return to the present on this job. See how it says presented? When it says presented, and it says presented, and we want to go back to scope, we can go to View, Show Files, and we can click on this little icon called, we want to do Hide Present File. I just hit the dictation because I could not see what I was hitting. Let me make this smaller. Okay, so if I highlight the present file and I go to hide the present file, then when I go to scope, Okay, this is a great example of something gone wrong. What I did was I accidentally hid the dictation file. So I have to go to View and Show Files. And the most current file is the one I want. So if I come over here, make sure you're seeing my files. Okay, so I want to look at what is the most current. So the most current file would have been 123.1254. So I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to click on Hide, Unhide Dictation. So now it says no, so it's no longer hidden. So now I'm back at the main menu. I can go to Edit, and there's my job. So if I wanted to change something here, I could do that. Or I could just go Job, Present. And for some reason, it's still bringing it up in. Still bringing it up in the PDF format. So I'm going to go back to the styles. Back to the TNT Juvenile and open it. Make sure that there's no print set, and there isn't. So maybe I chose the other juvenile court hearing. I'll open that one. Make sure there's no, yep, print set there. Apply and OK. And now if we go back to the main menu, and we go to View, Show Files, and we will notice that we have another present file. So I'm going to click on that one, and I'm going to hide that present file. So now we can try to present it again. This time it should present to Microsoft Word. Okay, so the first thing that I notice is I'd probably want to center that. So there's a few things that you might have to do to make it look the way you want it to look once you get to Microsoft Word. If this doesn't fit on the first page and it's supposed to be, you might want to turn your show hide on and go and remove some of the extra lines here so that all of this will fit on one page. There are usually a few extra lines that you can play with that will get you what you want, which is these last two lines on that page, that same page here. So we're going to delete that. And here starts our proceedings. There's an extra line. I'm going to take that away. I'm going to center proceedings. There we go. Now here, where you see this section break has ended, normally what I do is I'll bring this up to make sure that everything has the same spacing, and then I'll put the time in here at proceedings concluded at. And then I just want to hit enter all the way to the bottom of the page so that all of my page numbers are actually there and viewable. So if I should have 25 page lines, let's see. See here, if I have more, here's what you can do if you have more lines than you're supposed to. If you change the line spacing between, that's generally what I'll do is I'll go and I'll say, okay, well, I'm going to change the line spacing just for this part of the record, just the proceedings part. And so I might highlight the proceedings, just the proceedings section. And that could be a lot of text, and just go to paragraph formatting and line spacing and exactly 24 points makes it generally. Oh, no, that's not enough. So let's go back and do 25. There we go. That's what we wanted. And so we want to make sure that the section break is on the page before. You need the section to be different. And here, we sort of have the same thing. We have a few extra lines that we can get rid of on this page so that everything actually fits on the page, so that you don't have to have an extra page. I'm just getting rid of the extra pages so that it all fits. And when you're ready to see it for the last time, what you may want to do is actually turn the show height off so that it looks more normal. And then you can scroll through and make sure everything is correct. And then once you have everything the way you want it, you can go File, Print, change the printed to Microsoft Print to PDF, and hit Print. It'll come up asking you to name it. And so this one is, well, we don't know, so we'll just put Sample Juvenile. Save. And so that's the PDF. And then you just do File and Save. Exit out of Word. 50 lines per page. Okay. Okay. Diane, you're saying that you have 50 lines per page, and you're saying that there's a border on your cover page, but you're not seeing one here. When you go to the Edit Styles, do you see the court, the specific court that you work for? And have you tried to go all the way through to present with that style? Okay, well then please do, because they're different. They don't all look the same. So go all the way to present with the style that is for your court. And if it's not set for 50 lines per page, then let me know and I can change that via the style and send everybody the updated style. That's not a problem at all. But people are inconsistent sometimes with what they want. So just let me know and I'll be happy to make sure that it looks exactly the way it's supposed to look for all of your courts. So in this next week, I want you to be doing dictations, basically using even if you have to use RealTime Coach because you're doing your RealTime Coach dictations, when you're done, and after you do your correction mechanism, change the style to the style that you will be using in your court. And once you've created the style and you've created a PDF, if there are any changes at all that you want, I want you to send me that PDF file via email and list what you would like changed, what you would like to see different on that style that you will be using. And I'll be happy to accommodate you. Now, I hope you all noticed that the RealTime Coach dictations were changed this morning so that after the 185, well, as of the 185, for those of you who had not yet gotten to 185, if you've already done the extra dictations in 185, you will be given credit for them. But none of you that haven't reached 185 have to do those extra ones. Now everything has only 5 dictations in it. This is very doable. When I got rid of the extra dictations, I got rid of the long ones. So in the faster speeds, you have shorter dictations, which is good because it's hard to do when it's fast like that. So I want you to definitely do your RealTime Coach dictations. I want you to make sure that you check your grades in ACE. I will be sending a few emails this afternoon to people that need to go in and revisit. I have 2 of you that need to go in and revisit your Dragon class because you have unacceptable grades. The rest of you are doing great on your grades. There are 2 of you who have not started transcriptionist. I will be sending you to 3 of you that have 2 of you that have not done any exams, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you that have only done 1 exam. So we have 2 more weeks that I'm going to be meeting with you. Today, our meeting is almost over. It's very important that you learn how to use Transcriptionist in these next 2 weeks. If you have a question, Skype me the question. Unless it's out of business hours, then you should be emailing me. After business hours, you should be emailing me your questions so that I can get to it the next morning really early. The first thing I do in the morning is answer my email. So if you have any problems, yes, in computer skills, you're not able to go back and do over the quizzes. Yes. Okay, Raquel, I will do my very best. I do have to edit a little bit out, but I will do my very best to put the class up as soon as possible for you to go over again. Get busy with your dictations. There are a few of you who have less than 15 dictations done. That is unacceptable. You need to get busy. Most of these dictations are 5 minutes or less. You should be able to do that. Again, I have removed many of the dictations, so there is no reason why you should not be able to complete your dictations. If you can't, no worries. You'll still get a certificate of completion, but you won't get a certificate of excellence without finishing the entire course and doing all of the dictations. So I will let you go now so that you can get busy, as we've covered everything that I need to cover today. And I look forward to hearing from you if you have any issues. If you are only seeing basic and standard, yes, you missed a step. You did not import the dragon styles that I made available to you. I will make them available again at the end of class via the Skype download, and I'll also put in the instructions on how to import styles. But yes, you should have been using your TNT styles for a week now, so you'll definitely need to get that done. Okay, I will be emailing those of you who are asking for something specific, and I will allow you to use the rest of this 45 minutes to get some work done. And I'll see you guys all next Wednesday.